All right, we will call the March 18th meeting to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next order of business will be approval of the March 4th meeting.
I move to approve the March 4th regular session minutes.
I'll second it.
Vote,
Yes.
yes. Public comment period, Brookside.
Easter egg hunt, March 30th, Saturday at 10 a.m. at the school. Other than that, thank you for having the entrance work scheduled, and I think that's it.
Brookside, oh, I'm sorry, we're in the hills.
Can say it again.
Brookside.
I really don't have anything else, but I can make them up if you like.
Had a hard day. Worthington Hills,
Make it easy, no report.
Epcot and Ravello.
Nothing new.
Convergent, oh, you're gonna do that?
I'll do it under.
Okay, never mind, sorry.
I'll tell you what, let's jump ahead to Upper Arlington with our guest speaker there, Assistant Chief.
Thank you. Just, I don't know if you guys are aware, I'm fairly new to the organization, so I've been here about 6 months, kind of getting my feet under me now. So Chief Zimmer and I are gonna try and make a more concerted effort to have a better appearance here so we can kind of share time. So appreciate that and why we had this vacancy here to, you know. But as far as what's happened recently, it's been fairly quiet. We've had 8 runs in February and 16 in January, so it's been eerily quiet. Hopefully it will stay that way. For end of year stats, if you haven't seen them, we had 124 in our little corner of your world for 2023. And you know, it was just continue to provide service and have a good dialogue and do what we can do to maintain the relationships.
Do you have a rough idea what percentage of those are for Epcon?
Epcon runs were 27 in 2023, so
A little under 20.
30%, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So that's a quick mental math, so do it, you know, so somewhere in that range.
Well, if you guys want to come, once a quarter is plenty.
That's kind of thinking,
Back up.
they're scheduled the same day,
Right.
so we're trying to share that a little bit.
Well, good. Any questions for the Assistant Chief? Anything?
Do one thing, was their celebration? Not Neighbors Night Out anymore.
Oh, is that fun, you
Yeah,
mean?
they're supposed to schedule it sometime in September this year.
Yeah, so you guys have been so gracious as to come to the Epcon community, which was Neighbors Night Out, and I believe that was always the 1st of August, but there was some licensing concerns or issues there with that particular name, but they're gonna try to make something happen in September. So
Okay,
when we
September.
get an exact date, we'll give it to you.
Yeah, communicate to us and we'll get it on the schedule and
Okay.
participate as we can, yeah.
We appreciate
So
that.
it's gonna be neighbors night out instead.
Yeah, it used to be
Yeah.
first night out, I think, and now it's gonna be neighbors night
Oh,
out.
Neighbors Night, thank you.
Yeah, and that's good because they have the national night out then too, that can get confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that.
Got a
is-
licensing.
No
Trademark, yeah,
licensing and
trademark, it's a
cost.
nationwide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we appreciate you being there. We're
Absolutely,
very
just-
grateful as well.
Yeah, let us know when and make sure we have that allotted out.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Anything else under fire and EMS? All right, we'll jump around here a little bit more and we'll go with the Epcon presentation up next. I'm not, sorry, not.
Swaco.
Morpsey.
Swaco.
Swaco?
It's
Okay.
Swaco. Morpsey, Swaco. Wow,
He's really had one today.
I have.
Well, I'm Karen Seidel. I'm SWICO's Communities Administrator. My job is to facilitate programs like our consortium program, working with wonderful people like Beth. And I'm here with Joe Durham, who's with Eastman and Smith, it's a law firm we contract with and have for at least 2 decades on, these solid waste contracts. And so I'm going to provide some background, a little bit of background on our consortium program, and then turn it over to Joe to get more into some options, for the township to consider as far as opting into our consortium program. And thank you very much for having us. Beth, you can go ahead. Go to the
Well, funny
next.
story, Tina doesn't want to
It
go.
doesn't want to.
I can see it on my screen.
Click the arrow. There, just click this down arrow.
Yeah, but it's not. really
Oh, it's
on the
not.
TV. Let me see if
Oh,
I
it
can.
must not, maybe it's,
It was doing it just before, but this is, kind of story of my life with this, so. Yeah, let me see if I can just share my screen.
Okay.
Do it that way. That one. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know why this one.
We're gonna get a new system.
I really wish so.
yeah, it's showing, you know.
It just never fails. Now it's just.
Here, is it still there? You go back.
Okay.
You open up your Zoom.
Or a couple of brain cells.
I would bring my back.
It's short all day.
You have one?
So you.
I did.
Questioning everything I do.
Probably,
You share? Or, oh, it's.
might be the draft at this point.
I don't know. Well, it's such a joy. Oh, that was hard.
What is it?
Just for that. Thing?
It's the actual bird that I thought, that's a hot sauce.
Absolutely the same thing. 100%.
Yeah, I would,
Just leave it like
Leave it
that.
there and I'll just
Yeah,
look on the
don't do-
side.
Yeah, okay.
Don't touch anything.
Yeah,
Nothing. Okay, go ahead.
okay, you can go to the next slide, please. So this slide is just, again, it's just very basic on the consortium program. It was established in 2005 to standardize, solid waste collection, so solid waste, recycling, and yard waste, and, just improve diversion rates. We have, with Hilliard's recent joining of the consortium program, we're now up to 26 of, Franklin County's 41 communities. And we also provide, contract assistance for communities outside of our consortium program. So that's another 5 to 6 communities. So all told, we're helping over 31 of the county's, communities with their solid waste contracts. Again, the program is administered by SWACO, and we, contract with Eastman and Smith for all of the legal components and expertise. This program with, 2 decades under its belt, these, contracts are very well vetted. They, follow best practices, industry standards, and again, through the course of the last 2 decades, they're just constantly being improved and adapting to changes in the industry, changes in the county. So they're really well vetted. And, another, component of the consortium program is that we provide these services at no cost to the community. So it's not only the contract process itself, which includes bidding out, but then through the life of the contract. We just recently worked with a community that was having an issue with their, collection service, and when they brought it to our attention, within 2 weeks, it was essentially resolved with Joe and SWACO leading the conversation with both the community and, the haulers. So that's just one quick example. So next slide. And with respect to, any community's ability to opt into our consortium contracts, or really any contract. Under the Ohio Revised Code, a community can opt into any existing publicly bid contract, which is what allows this, process. And, since Perry Township, is serviced by Rumpke, we, Eastman Smith, Joe and his colleague Elizabeth, evaluated our Consortium One contracts who are also serviced by Rumpke for their solid waste, recycling and yard waste. And the following slides, which Joe will take over, are reflect that kind of analysis of comparative services.
Sure, thank you. Good evening. I'm Joe Durham with Eastman and Smith. And so we have been representing the Consortium One, which is many communities up in this area of the county. Rumpke is the service provider for many of the Consortium One communities. And so with that, knowing that your contract is expiring here in 2024, we wanted to look at an option of whether the trustees would feel comfortable joining the consortium, opting in versus going out to bid. The consortium's contracts have a couple more years of extensions at fairly competitive prices, we think. So we thought we would just review this so that you would have some options. So currently, the same services are being provided to the Consortium One community, meaning you're getting solid waste recycling, yard waste collection, there's bulk collection on the regular day of service. For some communities, the contractor actually bills your residents, and then the services for the public facilities are usually covered in the price per household per month that's being billed to the residents. So you're not paying a separate bill to cover the solid waste or recycling that's being done at the township service areas. Maybe we can go to the next slide. So we did look at Consortium One communities, like we said, because of Rumpke servicing them and trying to make the easiest transition here for an opt-in contract. As Karen mentioned, under 9.48, you can opt into an existing publicly bid contract. So we just looked at what's being provided. Again, you have a little bit different of a yard waste schedule. So if you opted into one of the two contracts, you would have it year round. Our contract has a discount at age 60 versus your current contract being age 65. So maybe some seniors would get a discount. I hate to say that I'm going to be in that area shortly, but maybe that's why we have it at 60. And then we have special events that are covered under those consortium contracts as well. So if you have a first night out or whatever it may be, and you want recycling there, as long as it's identified for the contractor, they provide that as part of the service. So feel free to ask any questions as we go through this. Again, you look at the services, solid waste. Right now, the contractor is providing you with a solid waste container that's included in their bid. Mifflin has a different system, and you'll see some pricing when we get to the next slide, but they have 3 different solid waste containers. And so the smallest is the cheapest price. So everybody gets recycling bins, but in Mifflin, it's a little different. You can choose the size of your solid waste container and get a different price based upon the volume of the waste that you're generating. And then residents provide their own yard waste containers, usually the yard waste bags, or it can really be anything as long as it's marked. So then the next slide, I think, shows some of the pricing. We wanted to see what would be comparable to what your residents are paying now. So that's $21.40 a month through the second quarter of this year when your contract expires. So the opportunities at this point would be either you're gonna bid that out or opt into an existing contract. So when we looked at Blendon, they have a price of $22.91, which is pretty competitive with yours. And they have 2 extension years after that, and you can see that the price increases over 2025 and 2026. And then there's the breakdown of Mifflin Township being 35 gallon for solid waste. And so everybody gets the same recycling bin, but if you want a smaller or a larger, so those are very competitive prices with yours at this point. And you would see again that Mifflin has the extension prices for 25 and 26. The benefit to that would be you'd be in the consortium, and then we will start the bidding process in 2025, and so that they can have a price at the end of 2026. It usually takes 9 months, 6-9 months to get that on the street, and you obviously want it out certainly at the beginning of 2026 to give the haulers the maximum amount of time in case a different provider comes in here and switches. So
Joe,
if you're interested in that.
do you want to explain the why we have the 1-year extensions?
Oh, sure. Usually, there's a provision in the RISE code that says municipal corporations, cities, can only enter into their collection agreements for 5 years. And so we usually have that. But because Rumpke is in the process of building this new state-of-the-art recycling facility, we wanted to give the communities every option available. We weren't really sure when that was going to come online. So this last round of all 3 of the consortiums bid, there's consortium 1, consortium 2, and consortium 3, different areas of the county in different makeups of the communities. But they all have 3-year contracts with 2 1-year extensions that automatically renew unless you give them notice. So I think the one thing that would be different if you went to Blendon under their contract, they don't provide solid waste containers. So those folks are just setting it out on their own, either in a container that they purchase, or they can lease or rent from the contractor. But I think if you were interested in opting into Blendon's contract, we would just have a conversation with Rumpke to say, your containers are already out there. Can't we just opt into this contract and have the status quo for you, except for potentially having yard waste year round? I think would be the recommendation.
I personally like giving people the choice between the 35, 65, and 95, because, we had kids at home. We would fill up our 95, and that's kind of when recycling was sort of in its infancy, and we had the totes, and all that kind of stuff. Now we seem to fill up our 65 gallon recyclables, just because you're so much more conscious of that, and that's just 2 of us. And I know some people would like to almost go to a 95 on the recyclables. But would it be possible to go to a smaller on the regular trash?
So if you would opt into Mifflin's, that would be the system that you would, and again, we would, while I believe that 9.48 suggests that you can, if Mifflin invites you into their contract, the law says that's all that has to happen.
But is Mifflin 65 gallons, is that for recycle or is that for solid waste?
That's a solid waste. So you can see if you get a 35 gallon, it's 2140. And then if you get a 65 gallon for solid waste, it's 2176, and then 95 gallon is 2291.
So the recycling container is standard.
Standard.
It's all
Across the board.
65.
65.
Right.
And then those are your 3 choices for solid.
Yeah.
I'd love to have my regular trash the same size as my recycle. 'cause they look the same.
Is there a colored refrigerator?
No, it's just like I said, that 95 takes up a decent amount of room in
Right.
in
It
a
does.
two-car garage,
So I mean,
and it's never full.
digging into the weeds perhaps, but what happens if residents opt for, let's say, the 35-gallon solid waste and then put other cans outside?
So there's only one community, Whitehall, which is cart contents only. And so they can't go outside of that except for they have, maybe quarterly, they have a day where they can put more out. So Mifflin, which is interesting, right? And this was bid by Rumpke. It's 35 gallons, but if you put it out, they're still required to take it under the contract. So the issue is, well, why wouldn't everybody just sign up for 35 gallon and put more out? I mean, that's obviously not the way we want to treat our contractors.
Sure.
But certainly, given the current status quo of your services right now, we would want to have a discussion with Rumpke. If you're thinking about opting into Mifflin, then that is, needs to be planned, right? So by July, they're gonna have to figure out which of your residents wants something different than their current, what they have now, how that billing is gonna be done, how those containers are gonna be delivered out there.
That's one of the, like, what we were talking about Dublin, but he said Dublin, they have to buy their own containers, right?
Correct.
And I was explaining, when we switched over to Rumpke for the first time, that rollout was a nightmare.
It wasn't great.
It was not
We had
great.
waste for.
It was, he and I were going out in the truck and taking stuff, it was crazy, and so the nice thing is, our folks already have those Rumpke containers, and then you'd just be doing it for the folks who say want a bigger one or a smaller one.
If you opt for like the 65 gallon, are you stuck with that for the term of the contract?
So the way we've written some of those contracts would be that I think it was a 90-day period. So if somebody wanted to switch, then Rumpke would be required to go out and exchange that. And then there might be a charge if somebody wanted to switch after that.
Yeah, I mean,
That makes sense.
that would seem
Yeah.
appropriate, because that's kind of a pain to come out and drop off new stuff, pick up old stuff.
Yeah.
But that would be upon the resident to make that decision, right?
They would
Within the 90
contact them
days.
Right, if they want to
Smith
change,
would have to call and say, I want this.
and then after that, they
would-
would say, yeah, we could switch it out, but we're gonna add a charge for the delivery.
And then what about, you were saying stuff being left out, like if I put out a mattress, they're gonna pick it up under the Mifflin program, or, like, they'll take anything?
Yeah, so Mifflin does have bulk pickup as well. So, they're clearly identified items like mattresses in there. And I think Rumpke's added some, requirements that they have a bag over them for
Yeah.
bed bugs and things like that.
Yeah.
But as long as it's in that list of, identified bulk items, then it can go out on your regular trash day along with your cart.
Okay.
So how long would we be under Miflin's contract if we were to go that route? Okay, 2 years?
That would be ideal to then go through the bidding process unless, I mean, I think we're gonna have some discussion. Consortium 2 is actually bidding first, so
Yeah.
you could, and their contract will be done at 2025.
Okay.
So you could really opt in for the remainder of 2024, extend for 2025, and then we'll have a decision to make whether or not you're gonna extend for 2026. That said, my negotiations with Rumpke would be like, well, if we're gonna let you opt in Mifflin's, we really want it to be through 2026 to get the benefit.
And Beth, we're at our 1 year, or we've already.
We've
We've
done it
used
through,
them,
we've
yeah.
used all.
So
of them.
At the end
we're
of
back
June.
out for a fresh contract, right?
Right.
Right.
This is kind of a side issue, I guess. Have you guys talked with, Sharon at all? Sharon Township?
They're with local.
Yeah. So that's,
And the only reason I bring that up is because a lot of people, not a lot, but there's a fair number of people in Worthing Hills that have told me, why can't Worthing Hills be on the same schedule? Because, the bottom, I'll just call it like the bottom 25%, bottom 20% of Worthing Hills is Sharon Township. and they get their trash picked up
On a
on
different day.
Mondays, and we was on Monday.
Yeah.
And we get picked ours up
Friday.
on Friday, and the people that live right in that area, it's like, well, 2 days a week garbage trucks are going through, rather than just one day a week. I was like, why can't you guys sync that up? And I'm just like, it's just because it's just two different government entities.
Sharon Township's in our consortium too. Worthington is not in our consortium program.
So Sharon.
But Sharon's in it in your consortium, but they have local.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
So consortium two is with local, is that?
yeah.
That's it, we will.
Yeah,
And it would require obviously cooperation with them to see if those two could ever sync up, and maybe it can't, I don't.
So certainly, if you want to explore that, we can pull these same numbers for Sharon, and see where that is. But I do believe that they only have one and then one more year of extension, so they are gonna be going out to bid, which is not a bad thing. You could go out to bid with consortium too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be worthwhile to see the number.
Sure, we can provide those.
And when would you guys need a decision by?
Well,
Like
July. What was that
Yesterday.
slide? June 3rd, when's your, June 30th? Yeah. So we gotta get the contractor, that's kind of why we were saying consortium one and Rumpke's the easiest path,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
To actually have, if local waste were interested in taking over that, for a year and a half. That's a heavy lift, so we would want to get that contract in place as soon as possible.
Yeah. And then you'd also have to be switching out all the containers,
Right.
which is
Right.
not pretty.
Yeah.
so the net value is to theoretically sync up with local. Or I'm sorry, by going to local.
No, but
So that-
go with Rumpke with Mifflin.
So,
No, I mean, if you were trying to get on the
I'm saying,
same,
yeah,
so if you extend this for
I don't want to switch.
the year and a half,
okay. Well, then we don't need the consortium two pricing right now.
If it means we
because
have to
don't
go
want
with local,
No,
we ain't going there.
Yeah,
No.
so don't worry
Okay.
about the pricing then.
Don't worry about
Yeah,
the price.
that's-
So, who
Sorry,
are you working with Rumpke? With Andy's group?
I work with Jake Heffron.
no, yeah.
Okay, Jake? Okay.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
So if we make a decision to do this, what would the next steps be? What would,
Yeah, so whichever community you think would be the best match. The next step would be to have Swaco and representatives from the township and myself reach out to Rumpke. Just make sure that they would be in line. So if it's blending, are they willing to just leave their containers out and keep your status quo going at this price?
Mhm.
If
Do we need
it's
influence okay?
Uh,
Tag on,
all of our communities, no one has,
said no.
yeah, they'll give you a letter that says we'd like it off in our contract.
would you give us a contract to actually vote on then to?
Yeah, so one of the things we do, through Swaco, but we would have an engagement letter so that there's actually attorney-client, communications. And then we would prepare the contract, and bring it to you for your approval.
Who pays for that? We,
Swaco pays our law firm to represent you.
Or you pay for it.
Yeah, there's no cost.
no. They take care of that, I think.
right,
What was it for? God love you all.
I like the idea of having the yard waste year round.
Yeah.
As I stare at all the sticks that have blown down and we don't have,
And there were people who wanted it, but if you remember the last contract,
Right.
it was too pricey, which is
Right.
why we.
well, this year has just been so nice, I mean, we bagged our yard waste and, we've got a fair amount of cleaning up already, lots of neighbors have. Some people cut their lawn.
you know, the only thing that gives me pause, and I shouldn't assume that residents would do this, is people opting into the smaller container if we went with Mifflin. And then there's just a bunch of random cans and things out.
But it's so much, the price
So
difference
close.
is so
I know.
negligible, who wants to carry out a bunch of?
Sometimes people are, you know. penny wise
$1 a
and
month, you want to
dollars
make 3
foolish.
trips to the curb or put everything in one container and take it out?
And then if you switch, you lose your profit margin because they're gonna charge you to switch.
Right, I mean, for $1 a month, put it
Yeah.
all in one thing.
I guess
that
that's how
gets
we would
out.
have to just lay it out if it,
So Joe, could you do Mifflin, but not have that option? Could you do Mifflin with?
You're
what we
saying at the
have now?
95-gallon,
And
And just say.
but I think Mr. Roper would like his cans to be the same size.
But I will say, we do,
Color.
we do get calls from people asking if they can
They
have
do.
smaller,
Yes.
especially if it's
I agree,
elderly
like a-
I'm
group.
telling you, a two-person household
Yeah.
doesn't come close to filling up a 95 gallon.
We have 65 at my house, and even when the kids come over once a week, we still don't fill it up.
And we went from halfway filling up our 65 recycled to completely filling up. And if you get, and a lot of times that's because you're lazy, you don't break boxes down and that kind of stuff. If you break the stuff down, you can fit everything. I like the Mifflin model. I mean,
Yeah. And that has the year-round waste. Yard waste, sorry, yard waste.
And a lot of people are gonna qualify for the 60
More that you like.
and older, and,
Mhm.
you know, that discount, 10%'s not insignificant, you know, I mean, it kinda wipes out the difference between the cost of containers.
So,
Well, I don't even have questions, I think everybody knows what I'd like to do. It's just a question of
I'm unclear.
of the process and how do we do that, you know, in plenty of time before our contract runs out at the end of June.
We can reach out to Rumpke right away to see if they'd be willing to do that.
How about we start there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think the fallback obviously is the easiest solution will be blending if they say no, but your idea might be if we say, look, we're opting into this. But maybe you don't advertise all that to the community.
Until they all see Jim snazzy.
I got a feeling most people probably get the status quo, because most people probably don't wanna change, but you know.
Right.
Right.
And then you already have a 95-gallon solid
Right,
waste container, right?
And maybe if they factor in a cost for people who wanna do it, you know, if it costs whatever, $10 to switch it out. I would pay that in a heartbeat to get a smaller container.
Okay.
all right, you wanna go ahead and do that then? And-
Yeah, so we'll communicate and we'll reach out to them and, do you want us to look at Sharon or is that something maybe
You
in
don't
the
want
future?
local waste.
Gotta
That's-
go.
Yeah.
You're good.
Tell
There you
the
go.
folks that tell you that to move into the other part of Worthington Hills.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
It's a nicer road. Nicer street sign.
Do it all. Go big.
Bye.
Stay warm. Thank you.
All right, let's see if I can get through the rest of
Please
this.
don't say Brookside again. I don't have anything else to say.
Zoning. Zoning, any other zoning you wanna talk about? Our zoning guy's not here. Anybody's,
No, I mean, everything's going swimmingly.
Good.
I know that, we have, as far as the Brookside cottages, Andy, is something set up? I know
We just
got-
got a set of plans, Joe and I, are reviewing them, but we didn't see anything just initially on it, so.
road department.
Under old business, update on the salt barn, Easy Done is, moving forward on the design. They've been talking with their engineer and, two manufacturers for the structures, trying to figure out which one will work better for us. They're gonna submit, the structure they're gonna go with for our approval here soon. And then IEP is, working on scheduling a kickoff meeting. We're gonna try later this week, but it'll most likely be next week, and, I'll let you know those dates. Get a few times. Ravello Courtyards, the, acceptance of the roads. Both neighborhoods have been provided a punch list. Both neighborhoods need to provide the monument letters, grading letters, sanitary letter, and a city of water. Once,
Karen.
Go ahead.
Once the county receives those, they will put on both neighborhoods will be put on the commissioner's, agenda for the final street acceptance. I should have a date here soon on that.
We're really looking at maybe the first. By the time that the commission gets on the commissioner's agenda.
Most likely, yeah. It's pending, I guess, on the agenda is what Travis, said today. They just have to get these letters before I can move on to the agenda. There was also an issue in EPCON when they were inspecting the storm sewer. They found a puncture in one of the tiles where it looked like a directional bore bit went in. The contractor realized it went in the side, pulled out and went around it, but never reported that it was hit. So Savco is scheduled to, repair that. That's all I have there. The flyer that went out to Brookside, well, there was an email that went out reminding, residents in Brookside of the tile job services where we will help fill in the ditch. The flyer was mailed out this week as well, is that email.
You get any inquiries?
We've got one resident requesting, an estimate and another one, just reporting some low spots in his yard that he'd like to look at.
The resident requesting the estimate, are they in the area that we were kind of discussing, or is it?
They are on, McVeigh near this,
Okay.
across the street. Actually, across the street from the resident that's requesting. Right-of-way permits, it's up and running. I just issued a permit today, right-of-way permit for Breeze Line. They're gonna do a directional bore. 8433 Fairway Drive. It's, the crossovers at Dolliver's, the last road there.
I know, is that the one that was on my desk when I got back today?
That was the check.
Check, so you didn't need any of that back, you already have your copies and everything.
I do, yes.
Okay,
That was just for your receipt, you know. what
that
the-
works, yeah, I just wanted to make sure you didn't need, okay.
McVeigh, 161, we're gonna be cleaning that ditch Wednesday.
Great, thank you. Will it be warmer for you?
I hope,
How many officers do you have?
there's 2 officers scheduled to help there, 9 to 1. Shouldn't take us long, we're gonna dig about 70 feet of the ditch from, McVeigh north. Just need to get the water to run. We'll do our best to flatten that out and, we're gonna hydro seed it and spray it
Oh, great,
when we're
thank
done.
you.
On to new business. Kind of tie it together, I would like to the board's approval to move forward with the, Franklin County Engineers resurfacing estimate for Blackstone, Netherlands Place, Gray Rocks Way, Gulfview Court, Keats Court, and Gables Court at a cost of $215,603.80. With
Go ahead.
With that, I would like to add additional concrete work to Decker's original work. I would like to add another 400 linear feet. Not to exceed 22,000 on their work. That brings it to just under the 50,000 threshold. We will be required, to report wages, because that will fall into the prevailing wage rate. I put a chart together there, kind of showing the total cost for all of the construction projects. This year, it's in the shaded area on the. That's with the rejuvenating.
That's in the FCEO estimate, Doc?
It's in the,
So
Well, it's in the little flyer that's, I got this done late with,
This one, that we'll open up.
no, there's a little packet on your,
Oh, I'm sorry, paper.
it was a little late when I got
No.
it ready and.
So we haven't approved, we approved the first part of the Decker, right?
Yes,
At the last meeting.
$27,950,
So you're asking now for how much per Decker?
22,000 more
Just either,
additional, yeah, 22,000 even.
Okay.
That would bring it up to the 49,950.
and did we approve the rejuvenator?
The originator was
Okay,
approved,
that's
yes.
a- We just need to approve the 22,000 in the new 215,000.
Yes,
So I know this is more than what we typically approve, but, obviously we'll be looking at less next year.
but yeah, we're looking, I was keeping it right around 200,000, what I'm planning
For next year,
for total,
yeah,
because of the salt barn.
yeah,
And then I don't plan on doing any concrete work next year unless we have small projects that come up.
right. Okay,
Is the last area though, back, everything off of Fairway, it would be newcomer next year, right?
Next year, McVeigh West and I only
No, I've
done,
been talking about, well, whatever newcomer's done, that's the last area in that whole.
newcomer, I took Mark Haven and Markland off of this plan because I drove it and looked, the curve was much worse than I originally thought. Took it off, so it'll be those 3 streets plus, Shelley and
Shelley
Tennyson.
and Tennyson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was almost done.
Almost.
But we're gonna do those in 20,
I'm gonna work on something for 2026. I'm trying to meet with, the county, Barbara Cox, to look at
OPWC.
loan programs and grant programs, so we can do all the curb and gutter, at the school along with the Mark Haven and Markland. See what kind of options we have there with them.
In the conversation with, Fibermat, with Shelley.
Oh, the county is including, this estimate includes the fiber mat. They agreed to add it to the contract. Mark reached out to Strasser, got these prices from his contact. My contact Dominic for the square yardage that I provided here, his price for us to go out to do it was $655 a square yard. The county's coming in at $625.
No, it's just a matter of logistics and scheduling and getting things in line.
Yeah, the county will schedule and coordinate this work as well.
Did you say the county's gonna coordinate that for you?
Yes, they're including it in the bid.
But we're gonna follow up.
Oh, yeah.
We love them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You good?
Yeah.
Good. Then I move to authorize, the expenditure through the county bid process, 215,000, 603.80 for the resurfacing for 2024.
Second,
Vote,
yes,
yes.
And I move to authorize additional expenditure of 22,000 for Decker construction for concrete work.
second,
Vote,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you. And then in your Dropbox, there is a traffic calming policy that, we've been working on. I also emailed it out. I don't know if anyone had a chance to review it. Gonna go over any of it.
So it's in your mailbox. This is the first reading for this one. Maybe a second and a third reading, but it's been reviewed by the police.
Police, We've all reviewed it in-house. I sent it to Upper Arlington, Chief Zimmer and, Chief Zambito at City of
Okay.
Arlington.
Okay.
Both of those guys seemed fine with it. They had a couple recommendations. Chief Zimmer's was where the speed bumps were located versus the fire hydrant. He asked that we had at least a 20-foot spacing listed in there for the design. Chief Zambito, mentioned a pilot program that they're gonna be trying at City of Worthington, using speed cushions, which is I think I provided you a picture of the speed cushion. It's in the paper packet. It is just the design of the speed hump. It's got openings in it that allow for larger vehicles, fire trucks, medics to get through without having to travel over them.
Cool.
But cars would still have to, go over the hump.
Okay.
That was their recommendations. Still waiting to hear back from Pete. I sent it over to Pete to
Okay.
ask him to review it and let us know what he thought.
So we would appreciate you reviewing it and providing comments directly to Ian and.
Yes,
Yeah,
I read it, but did not get to spend the time that I'd like to, on it. So if we can revisit this at the next meeting, then I'll reach out to you. And I understand and appreciate the objective. I'd like to make sure we're not intentionally trying to set things so that it doesn't lie.
Well, I mean, our hope is that we have this on the agenda for the first meeting in May
Okay.
for action. So that should be plenty of time for everybody to weigh in on it.
Mhm.
Would it be possible that when you do comment, you spit out an email, cause I wanna make notes on mine, cause I've been collecting everybody else's notes too.
Do we have a red line version with comments or? we're-
Well, I just I think we were sending them back to Ian and you've been collecting them, right?
Yeah.
But,
Okay,
So
so we're doing, okay,
the version that you have for the board right now is the latest, greatest version.
It's,
of the
yeah, with
draft.
everybody's updates.
okay,
that
too.
okay.
Okay.
Included, that's the one that was sent out in the agenda email. I mean, we could reply there to that with
Okay.
redlining it as well.
I'm just.
Oh, yeah, that's a Word doc version. I can, yeah, that's totally fine. I can- But you'd rather have the edits outside the document, is that what you're saying, not as red lines in the document?
Oh, it doesn't matter, just so we can kind of see, cause we were kind of comparing notes.
Okay,
That's all I have on my agenda.
it's a pretty full agenda.
It was, didn't break any records tonight.
Police.
Actually, you have, it's not even, it's 5:45 right now. So we're early.
Yeah, don't say.
That's right.
Under the old business, the police annual report, as far as being reviewed and approved. Is chief asked if that was, okay to be published.
You good? with- I'm fine.
Yeah.
That's good.
No changes or anything, so it's good to go.
I had a couple just suggestions on, wording, but if you don't mind, are you gonna be here for the rest of the meeting?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
can just talk to you outside.
The other thing, board accept Sergeant Ashley's letter of retirement, dated March 12th, 2024. He's decided to retire effective May 1st, 2024, with his last working day being April 30th of 2024. And he wanted to thank Perry Township for letting him have the opportunity to serve and protect the residents of Perry Township, and wishes everyone the best.
We get a motion on to, I move that we, accept the resignation of Sergeant Ashley, effective March as well.
It's effective May 1st, 2024, is retirement.
I make that motion.
Second,
Vote.
yes.
Yeah.
The last item on the agenda, Officer Rentmeester, who is, one of our new officers. He's on his, FTO period, transferred over from, Sharon Township and is asking, the board to, have the remaining balance of his sick leave from Sharon Township transferred over to, him here at Perry Township. The balance is 224.76 hours of sick time.
I move that we allow Officer Brett Meister to carry over his sick time from Sharon Township.
No, second, but I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So do we have any policy on this about limitations or? is it-
We do. And it's on my agenda because we included it into which would be effective tonight.
Does it counteract or what? does it-
No, it's not gonna affect him at all. It's
Oh, okay.
underneath yeah.
Oh, okay.
He falls underneath the criteria
Okay,
for it, so
okay.
it's fine.
Okay.
He kind of knew this when we hired him, and that was all
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
the understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that motion been seconded?
Yes.
Vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is all I have.
Nicely done. Madam Administrator.
Ready? I just wanted to go ahead and under old business, jump down to facilities, the gentleman from Dublin Builders said that he would have a little bit of a delay, but he is trying to finish up the proposal for you folks. So hopefully I will have that ready for you next meeting. On the agenda also is approval for the 2024 Perry Township Employee Manual. I just wanted to point out that the main changes where we added the credit card policy, spending policy in there. We added the addition of the sick leave, how much folks could carry over and how that works, logistically, once it comes over. The other changes were limited to, I actually just noticed this year that we use a lot of the terminology from Lexipol. So it was one of those things where chief of police was okaying for the road and this, that, and the other. So we fixed little tiny things like that, so that the rest of it stayed the same. So if I could have a motion to approve this, that would be great.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The Sweco presentation, if you have any questions in between times, just give me a call or send me an email and I'll get those over to those folks. I like the idea of the consortium. I think it's gonna simplify things a lot here and make it easier for residents and a little bit cheaper. Let's see. I just want to let you folks know that Charlie, and he started today, has been doing CPR classes for certification. So if you guys have any interest, let me know and I'll get with him to get y'all on his agenda. He's just been doing it here. The final thing, the new gal, Mary Gallagher, will be starting April 1st. So I'm getting her stuff set up now to start sharing. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I was invited, thanks to Sergeant Marcus Miller. I asked if I could attend the peer support training over at Sharon Township. They have 36 people from around the area. I swear if you ever get a chance to do this, it's an amazing training and it really gives you a great perspective of law enforcement and the needs, especially nowadays. And so I am now, as soon as I get my certificate, I'm certified. And to be a peer support, not just for our agency, but and that typically that's how it will work anyway. Like our folks would be probably more comfortable going to, say, Worthington or vice versa and so on and so forth. But it was phenomenal training. Sergeant Miller's really done a phenomenal job getting our wellness for law enforcement moving forward. I have to give him a lot of kudos for that because it's a lot of work just sitting in that class for 10 days. I had no idea what all went into something like that. But other than that, that's all I have unless y'all have questions for me.
Fiscal officer.
It's a motion for approval of payroll and disbursements.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Vote?
Yes.
If there's any executive session tonight? Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second, vote,
Yes.
yes.